Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. In this video, we are going to see a comparison between AC and DC transmission systems. We know that electrical power that can be transmitted either by using alternating current or direct current. So in this video, we will see what are the major advantages and disadvantages of AC and DC transmission systems, and finally we will compare both of these two transmission systems. Okay, so first we can start with the advantages of DC transmission systems. Okay, we know that in DC transmission systems we need only two conductors when compared with AC transmission systems. Okay, that is one of the important advantage of DC transmission system. It required only two conductors. Okay, and in DC, the influence of inductance, capacitance, and phase displacement will be absent in DC transmission system. As a result of that, surge problems will be absent in DC transmission system. Okay, and due to the absence of these inductance and capacitive effects, voltage drop in DC transmission systems will be very less when compared with the alternating current transmission systems, because in AC transmission systems there will be the presence of inductance, capacitance, etc. So the voltage drop will be very higher in AC transmission system when compared with the DC transmission system. So that voltage regulation will be better in DC transmission system. Okay, this point is very important for technical exams. And the fourth point is that skin effect problems will be absent in DC transmission system, so that the entire cross-sectional area of the conductor can be completely utilized. That is one of the major advantage of DC transmission system. Okay, and for the same voltage ranges, potential stress on insulators will be very less in DC system when compared with the AC system. Okay, and in DC transmission system, the effect of corona will be very less, and thereby corona losses will be very less, so that the efficiency of transmission will be improved in DC transmission system when compared with the alternating current transmission system. Okay, and in DC transmission system there is no problem of stability and synchronization problem. In DC systems we cannot change the voltage ranges, so that these synchronization problems will be absent in DC transmission system. Okay, so we discussed the major advantages of DC transmission systems, right? So now we are going to see the disadvantages of DC transmission systems. Okay, the major disadvantage is that it is very difficult to generate DC power because of the presence of commutation problem. Already we discussed the commutation problem detailed in the previous videos, so you can check it for more details. Okay, so DC power generation is very difficult, and second disadvantage is that transformers does not work for DC, because normally we use transformers in order to change the level of voltages. If we want to increase or decrease the level of voltages, then we can use transformers, but in DC transmission systems we cannot use it, because in DC transmission system voltage level, we do not need any transformers to change the level of voltages. It will transmit the power in a fixed level of voltages. And the third disadvantage is that DC switches and circuit breakers have their own limitations. Due to these disadvantages, DC transmission system faces some difficulties. Okay. So now next we can discuss about the advantages of AC transmission systems. Normally we generate electrical power as AC. In general case, for better, based on the better economy, we will generate electrical power as 11 kV in India, but the maximum generation capacity or maximum electrical power that can be generated in India at 21 kilovolt, but normally it is 11 kV. Okay, so that is the first advantage of AC transmission system. It is very easy to generate alternating current. And the second advantage is that alternating current that can be step up or step down based upon the need of voltage, we can change the level of AC voltages. And remember that the maximum voltage that is transmitting in India is 765 kilovolt. Okay. And in AC transmission system, repairing and maintenance is easy when compared with direct current. The cost of circuit breakers will be less in AC when compared with the direct current transmission systems. These are the major advantages of alternating current transmission systems. And the disadvantages of AC transmission systems are AC transmission systems require more conductors when compared with the DC transmission systems, because already we discussed in DC transmission systems we need two conductors, but for AC transmission we need three conductors. So the need of conductor and thereby the need of insulations are also very higher in alternating current transmission system when compared with DC transmission systems. Okay. The construction of AC transmission line is more complicated when compared with the DC transmission line, because of there will be the presence of inductive and capacitive effects and their reactants, and due to the presence of skin effects, corona losses, it is very necessary to maintain these problems. So it is very complicated for the construction of AC transmission line, that is very difficult when compared with the DC transmission systems. Okay. These are the major disadvantages of AC transmission systems. Based on the comparison or based on the discussions about the advantages and the disadvantages of both of the transmission systems, we can make a comparison chart between these two transmission lines. Okay. Here you can see the basics comparisons. That is, first one is based on the number of conductors in AC and DC. You can see in AC there will be three conductors for transmission that we need, and for DC we need two conductors. The presence of inductance and surges will be there in alternating current transmission, and the presence of inductance surges will be absent in DC transmission system. And the voltage drop will be higher in AC transmission systems, and that will be very low in DC transmission systems due to the presence of this inductance and charges. Okay. And the next point is skin effect. Skin effect will occurs in alternating current transmission line, and that will be absent in DC transmission line. The need of insulation. Need of insulation will be higher in AC transmission line when compared with the DC, because Need of insulation is directly proportional to the voltage or the conductors. In AC transmission system, we need three conductors, so that we need more insulation in AC when compared with DC. Interference will be higher in AC when compared with DC. Corona losses will also very higher in AC transmission systems, and that will be absent in DC transmission systems, or it will be very less. Dielectric losses will be there in AC transmission systems, which will be absent in DC. Cost and maintenance. Cost of AC transmission line is very expensive, because in AC transmission line we need many more supports, and if we want to change the level of voltages, we need transformers. That will increase the cost of AC transmission line, and in order to avoid the losses and efficiency, we need many more requirements in AC transmission line when compared with DC. Okay, the length of conductors will be very small in AC transmission, but DC transmission can be used for long transmission of electrical power. But AC transmission is normally done with small or less or medium transmission lines. That means the length of conductors will be very small in AC, that will be very higher in DC transmission line. So that we can say DC transmission lines are mainly used for or used as the DC link line. That is very important for technical exams. DC link lines, that is the use of DC transmission line in India normally, in order to use it as the DC link line. Okay, and the repairing of AC transmission system is easy when compared with DC, and the requirements of transformers will be there in alternating current transmission line when compared with DC transmission line. These are the major comparison involved or needed for AC and DC transmission line. Okay, so thank you.